The ship fell from the sky like a dying star. Jiwoo watched it from the cockpit of his own damaged vessel. His hands frozen on the controls that no longer worked. His engine had failed 3 days ago. Now he drifted through empty space, waiting for death that seemed to take its time. But fate had other plans. His ship crashed on a planet that had no name on any human map. The landing was rough. Metal screamed against rock. Fire bloomed briefly before the emergency systems killed it. When Jiwoo finally opened his eyes, he was alive. Bruised and bleeding, but alive. He climbed out of the wreckage and looked around. The planet was strange. Purple grass covered the ground. 3 moons hung in a green sky. Mountains in the distance glowed with soft blue light. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Jiwoo was a mechanic. He had spent 20 years fixing ships, robots, and machines of all kinds. His hands knew how to rebuild broken things. But looking at his destroyed ship, he knew some things could not be fixed. He was stranded here. Alone. Forever. For the first week, he focused on survival. He found water in a stream that tasted like copper. He discovered fruits that did not kill him when he ate them. He built a small shelter from pieces of his ship. Life was hard, but Jiwoo was harder. He refused to give up. It was on the 10th night that everything changed. Jiwoo was walking through a forest of silver trees when he heard a sound. It was soft at first, almost like wind. But then he recognized it. Crying. Something was crying in the darkness. He followed the sound carefully. He did not know what creatures lived on this planet. Perhaps it was a trap. Perhaps something wanted to eat him. But the crying was so sad that he could not ignore it. The forest opened into a clearing, and Jiwoo stopped breathing. A ship lay there, much larger than his own. It was ancient and broken, covered in vines and moss. It had been here for a very long time. But that was not what made Jiwoo freeze. Near the ship, curled into a tiny ball, was a creature he had only seen in human fairy tales. A dragon, but not the mighty beasts of legend. This was a baby. A hatchling no bigger than a house cat. Its scales were silver like moonlight. And its wings were folded tight against its small body. And it was crying. Tears like liquid diamonds rolled down its face. In its tiny claws, it held something. A toy. A broken mechanical bird that had once moved and sung. Now it was silent and still. One wing hanging by a thread. Jiwoo should have run. He should have hidden. He knew nothing about dragons. He did not know if this creature would grow up and eat him. But when he looked at that small, crying face, he saw only a child. A lonely, scared child, holding on to the last piece of something it loved. He stepped forward slowly. The hatchling's head snapped up, and golden eyes locked onto him. Fear flashed across its face. A tiny growl rumbled in its throat. Jiwoo stopped. He held up his hands, showing he meant no harm. "Easy," he said softly. "Easy, little one. I will not hurt you." The dragon watched him with suspicious eyes. It clutched the broken toy tighter, as if Jiwoo might steal it. "That is a nice bird," Jiwoo said, pointing at the toy. The hatchling looked down at the toy, then back at Jiwoo. Slowly, very slowly, it nodded. Something in Jiwoo's heart cracked. He sat down on the ground, making himself small and not scary. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small tool kit. He always carried it. A mechanic without tools was like a fish without water. "I can fix things," he said. "Would you like me to fix your bird?" The dragon did not move for a long time. Jiwoo waited. He had learned patience from years of working on stubborn machines. Sometimes you had to wait for things to work. Finally, the hatchling uncurled. It took one step toward him, then another. Its golden eyes never left his face. When it was close enough, it held out the broken toy with shaking claws. Jiwoo took it gently. "Thank you for trusting me," he said. He examined the toy carefully. It was old technology, but not too different from things he had fixed before. The wing joint was broken. Some wires inside were disconnected. The power source was weak but not dead. He worked by moonlight, his fingers moving with practiced skill. The dragon watched every movement, its crying slowly stopping. Once, when Jiwoo accidentally made a spark, the hatchling jumped back in fear, but then it crept close again, too curious to stay away. An hour passed. 2 hours. Jiwoo did not rush. Good repairs took time. When he finished, he pressed a small button on the bird's chest. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a soft whir, the bird came to life. Its wings moved. Its eyes glowed. It opened its beak and sang a melody that was both strange and beautiful. The dragon's eyes went wide. It made a sound that Jiwoo would never forget. A sound of pure, innocent joy. It jumped up and down, its tiny wings flapping. It caught the bird when Jiwoo released it and hugged it close to its chest. Then it did something that changed Jiwoo's life forever. It ran to him and wrapped its small arms around his leg. It was a hug. A thank you. A moment of trust from a creature that had been alone and scared. Jiwoo felt tears in his own eyes. He bent down and carefully patted the dragon's head. Its scales were warm and smooth. "You are welcome, little one," he whispered. The dragon looked up at him and made a chirping sound. It sounded almost like a word. "Bora," the dragon said. It pointed at itself. "Bora." Jiwoo smiled. "Hello, Bora. My name is Jiwoo." That night, Bora followed him back to his shelter. She curled up near his fire and fell asleep, the repaired toy bird clutched in her claws. Jiwoo watched her breathe, her small chest rising and falling peacefully. He did not know that he had just changed the future of the entire galaxy. He did not know that the small dragon sleeping by his fire carried blood older than stars. He only knew that he was no longer alone, and somehow, that made everything better. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Jiwoo stopped counting time because it did not matter anymore. What mattered was the small silver dragon who followed him everywhere like a shadow. Bora was curious about everything. She wanted to know how the water pump worked. She wanted to understand why fire was hot. She asked 1,000 questions with her chirps and gestures, and Jiwoo did his best to answer them all. At first, their communication was difficult. Bora could only say a few words, and Jiwoo knew nothing of dragon language. But slowly, they learned to understand each other. Bora picked up human words quickly. Too quickly, Jiwoo sometimes thought. Her mind was sharp like a blade. "Why do you fix things?" Bora asked one evening. She had grown in the past months. Now she was the size of a large dog, her wings strong enough to carry her short distances. Jiwoo looked up from the water filter he was repairing. "Because broken things make me sad," he said. "When I fix them, they become useful again. They become happy again." Bora tilted her head. "Things cannot be happy. They are not alive." "Maybe not," Jiwoo agreed. "But the people who use them can be happy. When I fix a ship, a pilot can fly again. When I fix a toy, a child can play again. I fix things so others can smile." Bora was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "You fixed my bird. You made me smile." Jiwoo felt warmth spread through his chest. "Yes, I did. Then I will learn to fix things too," Bora declared. "I want to make others smile." From that day, Bora became Jiwoo's student. He taught her about machines, about tools, about the beautiful logic of technology. She learned faster than any human child could. Her claws were clumsy at first, but she practiced until they became steady and precise. But Jiwoo did not only teach her about machines, he taught her about humanity. He told her stories from Earth, the planet he would never see again. He told her about cities filled with millions of people. He told her about oceans that stretched beyond sight. He told her about the first time humans left their world and reached for the stars. "Humans are weak," Bora said one night. They were sitting by the fire, looking at the 3 moons above. "You have no scales, no wings, no fire breath. How did you survive?" Jiwoo smiled at the question. "We helped each other," he said. "One human alone is weak. Yes. But humans together are strong. We share food. We share knowledge. We build things bigger than ourselves. That is our power. But other species are stronger, Bora insisted. They have better bodies, better weapons. Why do they not rule everything? Some of them do rule, Jiwoo admitted. But strength is not only about muscles and claws. It is also about heart, about kindness, about choosing to help when you could walk away. He looked at her with gentle eyes. When I found you, I could have run. You might have grown up and eaten me someday. But I chose to help you anyway. That choice is also a kind of strength. Bora was quiet. She stared into the fire, and flames reflected in her golden eyes. I would never eat you, she finally said, her voice very small. You are my family. Those words hit Jiwoo like a wave. Family. He had not thought about family in so long. His parents had died when he was young. He had never married. He had drifted through space alone for years, and now this small dragon called him family. He put his arm around her. Her scales were warm against his skin. You are my family too, Bora. After that night, something changed between them. They were not just a man and a dragon surviving together. They were father and daughter, even if they could never say those exact words. Jiwoo started making toys for Bora. Not just repairing old ones, but creating new ones from scraps and broken parts. He made her a mechanical butterfly that glowed in the dark. He made her a puzzle box that played music when solved. He made her a small robot that could dance and tell jokes. Each toy made Bora's eyes light up with wonder. She treasured them all, keeping them in a special cave she had found near the shelter. That cave became her room, filled with the gifts of a kind human who asked for nothing in return. But Jiwoo was not the only one giving gifts. Bora started bringing him things. Strange crystals that hummed with energy. Fruits from trees too tall for humans to climb. Soft moss that made excellent bedding. She could not build machines yet, but she gave what she could. Why do you bring me these things? Jiwoo asked once, holding a crystal that changed colors in his hand. Bora shuffled her feet shyly. Because you smile when I bring them. And your smile makes me happy. Jiwoo laughed, a sound he had almost forgotten. We are the same, you and I. We live to make each other smile. Seasons changed on the strange planet. Sometimes it rained purple water. Sometimes the sky turned orange for days. Jiwoo learned to predict the weather by watching how Bora's scales changed color. When danger came, usually from wild beasts that roamed the forests, Bora protected him with fire that grew stronger every month. You are getting big, Jiwoo observed one day. Bora was now the size of a horse, her wings wide enough to block the sun. I am still small, Bora said. My mother was bigger than mountains. My father could fly through storms without stopping. It was the first time she had mentioned her parents. Jiwoo waited, giving her space to speak. They are gone, Bora continued, her voice heavy with old pain. Bad creatures came. Fire, screaming. I do not remember much. I was very young. Someone put me in that ship and told me to hide. When I woke up, everyone was gone. Jiwoo's heart broke for her. He understood loss. He understood being alone in a universe that did not care. I am sorry, he said. I wish I could bring them back. You cannot, Bora said simply. But you stayed. Others would have left. Others would have been scared. But you fixed my toy and you stayed. That is enough. That is everything. She pressed her large head against his chest. Jiwoo hugged her as best he could, his small arms barely reaching around her neck. I will always stay, he promised. As long as I breathe, I will be here for you. Bora made a soft sound, almost like a purr. And I will protect you, she said. When I am big and strong, no one will ever hurt you. I promise. Neither of them knew that promise would soon be tested. Neither of them knew that far across the galaxy, eyes had turned toward this nameless planet. Eyes that had been searching for a lost princess for many, many years. But that night, they did not think about the future. They sat together by the fire, a human and a dragon. Bound by something stronger than blood, they were family, and family meant everything. 5 years passed on the nameless planet. 5 years of laughter and learning. 5 years of toys built and stories shared. 5 years of a bond that grew deeper than roots of ancient trees. Bora was no longer small. She stood taller than the tallest trees now, her silver scales shining like armor made of moonlight. Her wings could carry her across the sky faster than any ship Jiwoo had ever seen. Her fire burned hot enough to melt stone. She was magnificent and terrifying, a creature of power and grace, but when she looked at Jiwoo, her golden eyes were still the same, soft, gentle, full of love for the small human who had fixed her first toy. "You are getting old," Bora said one morning. She had noticed the gray in his hair, the lines on his face, the way he moved a little slower than before. Jiwoo laughed and rubbed his shoulder. "Humans do not live as long as dragons," he said. "We have maybe 80 or 90 years if we are lucky. I have lived more than half of that already." Bora did not like this answer. Her tail swished with displeasure. "That is not enough time. I want you to stay forever." "Nothing lasts forever," Jiwoo said gently. "That is what makes our time together precious. Every day is a gift." Bora was quiet. She had learned many things from Jiwoo over the years, but this lesson was the hardest. The idea that someday he would not be there, that she would be alone again. "I will not think about that," she decided firmly. "I will think about today. Today you are here. Today is good." Jiwoo smiled and patted her massive leg. "Today is good," he agreed. They spent the morning like they always did. Jiwoo worked on his machines while Bora practiced flying. She had become so skilled that she could dance through the clouds, spinning and diving with perfect control. Jiwoo always stopped to watch her fly. It was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. In the afternoon, Bora hunted, while Jiwoo tended the garden he had built. Yes, a garden. Over the years, he had learned which plants were safe. He had experimented with farming the strange fruits and vegetables of this world. Now he had rows of purple tomatoes and blue carrots, enough to feed himself without struggling. "I brought you a gift," Bora announced when she returned. She dropped something at his feet. Jiwoo looked down and laughed. It was a broken machine, some kind of probe from a crashed satellite. "Another puzzle for me?" "You like fixing things," Bora said proudly. She was right. The probe was complex and fascinating. Jiwoo spent the whole evening taking it apart and putting it back together. Bora watched with interest, her massive head resting near his workbench. "What does it do?" she asked when he finished. "It sends signals," Jiwoo explained. "Ships use probes like this to communicate over long distances. This one is broken. But if I had the right parts, I could make it work again." "Would you call for help? Would you leave?" The question hung in the air. Jiwoo looked at Bora, at the worry in her eyes. "I have no one to call," he said honestly, "and nowhere to go. You are my home now, Bora. Even if a ship landed tomorrow and offered to take me anywhere in the galaxy, I would stay here with you." Bora made a happy rumbling sound, like thunder but warm. "Good. I do not want you to leave." "I never will," Jiwoo promised, but the galaxy had other plans. It happened 3 nights later. Jiwoo was sleeping in his shelter when Bora's roar shook the ground. He jumped up and ran outside, his heart racing with fear. What he saw made him freeze. Ships filled the sky. Not 1 or 2, but dozens. They were massive vessels, dark as night, covered in symbols that glowed like red fire. And they were landing, coming down from the heavens like falling mountains. Bora stood in front of the shelter, her body positioned to protect Jiwoo. Her scales bristled with anger. Fire flickered at the corners of her mouth. "Stay behind me," she growled. "Bora, what is happening? Who are they?" Before she could answer, a door opened on the largest ship. Figures emerged. Dragons, adult dragons, each one larger than Bora. Their scales were gold and red and black, colors of war and nobility. They moved with terrible grace, and their eyes held ancient wisdom. One dragon stepped forward. He was the largest of all, his scales pure gold, his horns crowned with gems. When he spoke, his voice echoed across the land, like a song of thunder. "We have searched for many years," the golden dragon said, "across 1,000 worlds, through 1,000,000 stars. And finally, we have found you." He bowed his massive head. All the dragons behind him did the same. Bora's fire died. Her anger turned to confusion. "Found me? Why were you looking for me?" The golden dragon rose and looked at her with eyes full of respect. "Because you are the daughter of Empress Nari and Emperor Junho. Because you carry the blood of the eternal throne. Because you, young one, are the rightful ruler of the Dragon Empire." Silence, complete silence. Jiwoo felt the world spin around him. Empress? Emperor? Dragon Empire? He looked at Bora. His sweet Bora, who loved mechanical butterflies and dancing robots. His little girl was a princess? Bora shook her head. "That is impossible. My parents were killed. I am nobody." "Your parents were indeed killed," the golden dragon said, his voice heavy with old sorrow. "The Dark Rebellion struck when you were just a hatchling. Traitors murdered the emperor and empress and tried to destroy the royal bloodline forever. But loyal servants saved you. They hid you on a ship and sent you far, far away. We have spent 15 years searching, and now we have found the Silver Princess. We have found you." Bora looked at Jiwoo. Her golden eyes were wide with shock and fear. She was the same dragon who had cried over a broken toy. She was the same dragon who loved her human father more than anything, and now strangers were telling her she was supposed to rule an empire. "I do not want an empire," Bora said, her voice shaking. "I want to stay here, with my family." The golden dragon's eyes moved to Jiwoo for the first time. Something flickered in his gaze. Surprise, perhaps. Or disgust. "That creature?" the dragon asked. "That is no family, young princess. That is a human. A lesser species. They are weak, short-lived, and insignificant. Whatever bond you think you share with it, you must forget." Fire exploded from Bora's mouth, shooting into the sky like a pillar of rage. "He is not a creature," she roared, her voice shaking the very ground. "He is Jiwoo. He is my father. He found me when I was alone and afraid. He fixed my broken toy. He raised me. He taught me. He loved me when no one else did. And you will not speak of him that way." The golden dragon stepped back, eyes wide with shock. The other dragons murmured among themselves. None of them had expected this fire. None of them had expected this love. Jiwoo stood there, tears running down his face. His daughter. His sweet, wonderful daughter. She was defending him against creatures who could destroy him with a single breath, and she was not afraid at all. "Bora," he said softly. She turned to look at him, her fire dying, her eyes gentle again. "Whatever you decide," Jiwoo said, "I will support you. If you want to stay here, I will stay with you. If you want to go with them, I will understand. But you must make this choice yourself. That is what I taught you. Your choices are yours alone." Bora looked at him for a long moment. Then she looked at the golden dragon and the army of ships behind him. She was standing at a crossroads. And the choice she made would change everything. The night was long and heavy with silence. The dragon ships had landed, forming a ring around Jiwoo's small shelter like giants surrounding a child's toy house. Their crews waited outside, patient and ancient, their eyes watching the princess who had been lost and was now found. Inside the shelter, Bora curled around Jiwoo protectively. Her massive body barely fit in the space they had built together. But she refused to leave him alone. "You should sleep," she said, her voice a soft rumble. "I cannot," Jiwoo admitted. "My mind is too busy." Bora was quiet for a moment. Then she asked the question that had been burning in her heart. "Do you regret it? Finding me? Raising me? If you had known what I was, would you have walked away?" Raising me. Jiwoo looked up at her, at the silver scales that glowed in the moonlight, at the golden eyes that still held the same sweetness they had 5 years ago. Never, he said firmly. Not for one moment. You were a crying baby who needed help. What you would become did not matter. What mattered was who you were. In that moment. That has not changed. You are still my Bora. Bora made a sound like a sigh mixed with a purr. I do not know what to do, she confessed. They say I am a princess. They say my parents ruled an empire, but I do not remember them. I only remember you. Perhaps that is enough, Jiwoo said. You do not need to remember them to honor them. You carry their blood, but you have your own heart. Whatever you decide, make sure it is your decision. Morning came slowly. When the sun rose, the golden dragon appeared at the entrance of the shelter. His name, Jiwoo had learned, was Taewoo. He was the leader of the Dragon Council, the group that had ruled the empire in the absence of the royal family. We must speak, Taewoo said. His voice was calmer now, more respectful. He had seen Bora's fire. He understood that this would not be a simple matter. Bora stepped out of the shelter, Jiwoo walking beside her. She did not hide him or make him stay behind. Where she went, he went. That was her silent message. Taewoo led them to a clearing where the other council members waited. 7 ancient dragons, each one representing a different clan. They sat in a circle, their massive bodies casting shadows across the purple grass. Princess Bora, Taewoo began formally. We understand this is difficult. You have lived in exile, unaware of your heritage. But the empire needs you. The Dark Rebellion was defeated, but the throne remains empty. Without a ruler, our people fight among themselves. Clans argue. Wars threaten to break out. Only the royal bloodline can unite us. Bora listened carefully. She had learned patience from Jiwoo. She did not interrupt. What happened to the rebellion? She asked when Taewoo finished. Who killed my parents? A dragon with black scales spoke. Her name was Yoonji, and her voice was cold as winter. The leader of the rebellion was named Minho. He believed that the royal family was weak, that dragons should rule through strength alone. He gathered followers who shared his hatred for peace. They attacked the palace during a celebration. Many died, including your parents. And this Minho? Bora asked. Is he dead? Unji's eyes narrowed. He escaped. For 15 years, he has hidden in the shadows, gathering new followers. He knows you are alive now. His spies have seen our fleet. He will come for you. Jiwoo felt his blood turn cold. Someone wanted to kill his daughter. Someone powerful and dangerous. Then I will face him, Bora said simply. If he wants to fight me, I will fight. Taewoo shook his great head. It is not that simple. Minho is cunning. He will not challenge you directly while you are weak and unknown. He will attack your reputation first. He will tell the people that you are unfit to rule, that you have spent years living with humans. His eyes flickered to Jiwoo, with barely hidden disdain. That you are tainted. Thank you for watching. Thanks for watching. That you are tainted. Fire flickered in Bora's throat. Jiwoo is not a weakness. He is my strength. The people will not see it that way, Yoonji said bluntly. Humans are not respected in our empire. They are seen as primitive creatures, good only for simple labor. A princess who was raised by a human will be mocked, questioned, opposed. Jiwoo felt each word like a knife. He knew humans were not the strongest species in the galaxy. He knew dragons looked down on his kind. But hearing it spoken so openly hurt more than he expected. Then I will change their minds, Bora said with steel in her voice. I will show them that humans are worthy of respect. That Jiwoo is worthy of respect. If they cannot accept him, they do not deserve my loyalty. The council members exchanged worried glances. This was not the obedient princess they had hoped for. This was a dragon with fire in her heart and iron in her will. Taewoo tried a different approach. Perhaps we can find a compromise. The human can live comfortably somewhere, far from the capital. He will be cared for, protected. But he cannot be seen at your side. Not yet. Not until your position is secure. No. The word echoed across the clearing. Bora's voice was not angry anymore. It was cold. Absolute. Final. He stays with me, she continued. Always. If the Empire cannot accept him, then perhaps the Empire needs to change. My parents believed in peace and unity. They believed all species had value. I will not betray their memory by hiding the human who saved their daughter. Silence fell over the council. The ancient dragons stared at the young princess, who had spoken to them as equals, who had refused to back down. Finally, one dragon laughed. He was old. Older than any of the others. His scales faded to pale gray. His name was Doyun, and he had served Bora's grandmother when she was young. She has the fire of her mother, Doyun said with a smile, and the stubbornness of her father. Perhaps she is exactly what the Empire needs. Taewoo did not smile, but something in his eyes shifted. Respect, perhaps. Or resignation. Very well, he said. The human stays. But know this, princess. The path you choose will be hard. Many will oppose you. Many will try to use your kindness against you. Are you ready for that burden? Bora looked at Jiwoo. Her golden eyes met his brown ones. In that moment, they did not need words. They had spent 5 years learning to understand each other in silence. Jiwoo nodded slightly. Whatever she decided, he would support her. Bora turned back to the council. I am ready, she said, but I have one condition before I accept the throne. Name it, Taewoo said. Jiwoo will not be a guest, or a pet, or a symbol of my strange childhood. He will be my royal advisor. His voice will have the same weight as any dragon on this council. His wisdom will guide my decisions. If you cannot accept that, then find another princess. The council members looked at each other. Some were angry, some were confused. But none could deny the fire in Bora's eyes. None could refuse the last heir of the royal bloodline. One by one, they bowed their heads. As you wish, Princess Bora, Taewoo said. The human will be your advisor. And may the stars guide us all through what comes next. Bora smiled for the first time since the ships had arrived. She turned to Jiwoo and lowered her great head to meet his eyes. Are you ready to see the Empire, father? She asked softly, using the word she had never spoken aloud before. Jiwoo felt tears in his eyes. Father. She had called him father. I am ready, he said, his voice thick with emotion. As long as I am with you, I am ready for anything. And so the mechanic who fixed broken toys prepared to leave the nameless planet. He prepared to enter a world of dragons and politics and ancient power. He prepared to stand beside his daughter as she claimed her birthright. The journey ahead would be dangerous, but they would face it together, just as they always had. The dragon capital was called Hanul, which meant sky in the old tongue. It floated among the clouds on a world of endless storms, held aloft by ancient magic that had burned for 10,000 years. Towers of crystal rose toward the heavens. Rivers of light flowed through streets made of polished stone. It was beautiful beyond anything Jiwoo had ever imagined, but he barely noticed the beauty. He was too busy watching Bora. The coronation ceremony was 3 days after their arrival. During those 3 days, Bora was dressed in royal armor, taught ancient protocols, and presented to thousands of dragons who had waited 15 years for their princess to return. She handled it all with grace that surprised even the council, but every night, she came to Jiwoo's quarters. They would sit together in silence, just as they had on the nameless planet. And Jiwoo would hold her claw and remind her that no matter what happened, she was still his daughter. I am scared, Bora admitted the night before the coronation. What if I fail? What if I am not the ruler they need? Jiwoo smiled gently. Do you remember the first toy I fixed for you? The mechanical bird. Of course I remember. When I found it, it was broken. Useless. Most people would have thrown it away. But I saw what it could become. I saw the beauty hidden under the damage. He looked up at her massive form, at the silver scales that now gleamed with royal oils. That is how I see you, Bora. Not as a perfect princess, but as something growing, something learning, something beautiful. Bora made her rumbling purr sound. You always know what to say. That is why I am your advisor, Jiwoo said with a small laugh. The coronation took place at dawn. Jiwoo stood in the great hall among the council members, the only human in a sea of dragons. Many stared at him with hostility. Others looked at him with curiosity, but none dared challenge him. The princess had made her wishes clear. Bora entered the hall wearing armor of silver and gold. Her wings were spread wide, catching the light of the rising sun. She walked with confidence, with power, with the fire that had always burned in her heart. The ancient crown was placed upon her head by Taewoo himself. It was a circle of starlight, forged in the heart of a dying sun by the first dragon emperor. When it touched Bora's scales, it glowed with renewed light. All hail Empress Bora, Taewoo declared. Long may she reign. The hall erupted in roars and flames and thunder. Thousands of voices joined in celebration. And through it all, Bora's eyes found Jiwoo. She smiled at him. A small, private smile, meant only for family. The first months of her reign were difficult. As the council had warned, not everyone accepted her. The shadow of Minho's rebellion still lurked in dark corners. Some dragons whispered that Bora was too young, too strange, too influenced by humans. They plotted in secret, waiting for their moment. But Bora was not the scared hatchling she had once been. She had learned from Jiwoo. She had learned patience. She had learned to fix broken things, and the empire was very, very broken. She started with small repairs, trade agreements that had been stalled for years, territorial disputes that had festered into hatred, treaties with other species that the council had ignored. One by one, she addressed each problem with care and wisdom. And through it all, Jiwoo was by her side. His experience with machines taught him to see patterns in politics. His patience taught him to listen to all sides. His kindness taught him to find solutions that helped everyone. Slowly, even the dragons who had mocked him began to respect him. The human has good ideas, Unji admitted one day. It was the closest thing to praise she had ever given. A year passed. Then two. Bora's reign grew stronger with each passing day. She was not her mother or her father. She was something new, something the Empire had never seen before. Then Minho came. He attacked on the anniversary of the rebellion, bringing an army of followers who believed only strength deserved to rule. His forces struck the capital with fire and rage, burning through the defenses that had stood for centuries. But Bora was ready. She met him in the sky above Hanuel, two dragons circling each other like storms about to collide. Minho was larger than her, older, more experienced in battle. His flames burned with hatred that had festered for 2 decades. You are a disgrace, Minho roared. A princess raised by vermin. The throne should never be yours. Bora did not answer with words. She answered with fire. The battle shook the very clouds. Lightning cracked, thunder rolled. 2 dragons fought with everything they had, and the whole empire watched with held breath. Jiwoo watched from the palace walls, his heart in his throat. He could not fight. He could not fly. He could only stand there and believe in his daughter. Come on, Bora, he whispered. Show them who you are. And Bora heard him. Not with her ears, but with her heart. She remembered every story he had told her, every lesson he had taught her, every toy he had fixed with patient hands. Humans were not strong, but they survived. They helped each other. They never gave up. With a roar that split the sky, Bora unleashed fire hotter than any she had ever produced. Silver flames struck Minho with force that sent him spinning. Before he could recover, she was upon him, her claws finding the gaps in his armor, her teeth closing around his throat. Yield, she commanded. Yield or die. Minho struggled, but her grip was iron. He looked into her golden eyes and saw no mercy. Only justice. I yield, he gasped. The battle was over. That night, the Empire celebrated like never before. Minho and his followers were imprisoned, their rebellion finally crushed. Bora stood on the palace balcony, looking out at the dragons, who chanted her name. But she did not stay long. She found Jiwoo in his workshop, the small room she had given him to fix things as he pleased. He was working on a mechanical bird, not so different from the first one he had ever repaired. "You should be celebrating," he said without looking up. "I would rather be here," Bora replied. She lowered herself carefully, making her massive body as small as possible in the cramped space. "With you." Jiwoo finally looked at her. His eyes were tired but full of pride. "You did well today. Your mother and father would be proud." "I had a good teacher," Bora said. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Bora spoke again. "I have been thinking about humans," she said. "About how other species treat them. It is not right." "No," Jiwoo agreed. "It is not. I want to change that. I want to make humans allies of the Empire, not servants, not lesser species. True allies with respect and rights." Jiwoo stopped working on the bird. He looked at his daughter with surprise and wonder. "That would not be easy," he said. "Many dragons would oppose it. Many dragons opposed me." Bora replied with a small smile. "I changed their minds. I can change them again." "Les Mar." And she did. In the years that followed, Empress Bora transformed the Dragon Empire. She opened trade routes with human worlds. She invited human scholars to study dragon culture. She signed treaties that protected human rights across the galaxy. Not everyone understood why the Dragon Empress cared so much about humans. But those who knew her story understood perfectly. She had been a lonely hatchling crying in the dark, and a human mechanic had fixed her broken toy. He had given her love when she had nothing. He had raised her when the universe had forgotten her. He had taught her that kindness was the greatest strength of all. Jiwoo lived for many more years, surrounded by the family he had never expected to find. When he finally passed, peacefully in his sleep, the entire empire mourned. Bora declared a day of silence in his honor. She built a statue of him in the heart of Hanul, a human holding a mechanical bird, forever remembered. And on the base of the statue, she carved the words that had guided her entire life. "He fixed broken things. He fixed me." The story of the toymaker and the dragon spread across the galaxy. It became legend. It became history. It reminded all species, everywhere, that kindness could change the universe. And somewhere, among the stars, a silver dragon still told the story to her children. The story of her human father, the man who had repaired broken toys, the man who had helped her become a ruler, the man she would love forever.